Ashley never believed in fairy tales. After years of failed relationships and crushing loneliness, she had given up on love until fate led her to an abandoned dog at a shelter. She didn't rescue him, he rescued her. But their bond soon became the center of scandal. Whispers turned into accusations, and one viral video changed everything. The police knocked on her door. Her parents staged an intervention. The entire town watched, waiting for her to break. But Ashley refused to live by anyone else's rules. Just when she thought she had lost all hope, an unexpected encounter with a mysterious stranger turned her world upside down. Love was the last thing she was looking for, but maybe, just maybe, it had found her. Stay with us to discover how this incredible story unfolds, and don't forget to subscribe. The story begins with a stark reality. Ashley, a 37-year-old woman living in a modest apartment in Maplewood, a small, quiet town in the American Midwest, found herself alone not out of a desire for independence, but because life had beaten her down with a string of failed relationships. Men who had entered her life turned out to be self-destructive drifters, emotionally unavailable, or downright abusive. Over the years, she had witnessed friends, once vibrant and full of hope, gradually morph into shadows of themselves, their eyes carrying bruises of both physical and emotional battles. Disillusioned, Ashley stopped believing in fairy tale romances and the grand gestures that once promised salvation. Every morning, she would wake up to the same routine: a cold cup of coffee, a solitary walk through the streets, and an overwhelming silence that echoed the disappointments of her past. Her existence was a series of muted days, each one blending into the next with a numb acceptance of her fate. Yet, deep within her, there lingered a quiet yearning for something more, a love that wasn't marred by expectations or superficial charm. One gray afternoon, on a whim, Ashley visited the local animal shelter. She hadn't expected much that day, merely a brief distraction from her loneliness. But as she wandered past the rows of hopeful eyes and wagging tails, her gaze locked onto a large, scruffy mutt with unkempt fur and soulful, tired eyes. There was an unspoken understanding in the way the dog looked at her, a shared history of hardships and survival. Without hesitating, she bent down, whispered, "You're mine now. Let's see who can outlast the storms," and decided to adopt him. She named him Rex, a name that echoed both strength and resilience. The first few days with Rex were chaotic. He would wander around the apartment as if it were his personal playground, chewing on things he wasn't supposed to, and leaving little surprises everywhere. But every time Ashley scolded him, there was a moment when she sat beside him on the living room floor and gently scratched behind his ear, where Rex would sigh deeply and nuzzle into her hand. In that silent exchange, she felt seen, loved, and understood in a way that had eluded her for so long. As the days turned into weeks, Rex began to settle in, and their bond deepened. His presence stirred something in Ashley, a rekindling of the capacity to care and to hope. The once lonely woman started taking Rex on long walks through the tree-lined streets of Maplewood. Initially, she dreaded the inevitable small talk with other dog owners, afraid that her quiet existence might be subject to judgment. Yet, as she continued her daily strolls, friendly nods and genuine smiles began to replace awkward silences. During one of these walks, Ashley met Martin, a kind, middle-aged man with a gentle demeanor and a compassionate smile. Martin was also a regular at the local park, always accompanied by his own four-legged companion. "You've got a lucky guy there," he remarked as he patted Rex on the head, his tone warm and sincere. His words, simple as they were, planted a seed of hope in Ashley. Perhaps, she thought, life might be capable of surprising her in ways she had long given up on. But just as the sun begins to rise after the darkest night, life has its own way of challenging us. Whispers about Ashley's unorthodox attachment to Rex started circulating around the neighborhood. It began with furtive glances and murmurs in the hallways, escalating to outright gossip. One evening, a short video surfaced online showing Ashley in an unexpectedly tender embrace with Rex. The innocent act of affection was misinterpreted by some as something far more scandalous. Within days, a local police officer arrived at her doorstep, citing a complaint lodged by a nosy neighbor. Standing in her doorway, the officer explained, "Ma'am, we've received a report about some unusual behavior with your dog." Ashley's heart pounded in disbelief. Unusual? Hugging a dog isn't a crime, she replied, her voice steady but laced with hurt. If someone is invading my privacy by filming through their window, that's their problem, not mine. The officer, visibly uncomfortable with the absurdity of the situation, merely nodded and promised to look into it. The encounter left Ashley rattled, yet it also steeled her resolve to live authentically, regardless of what outsiders might think. Not long after, a couple of days later, her parents arrived unexpectedly. Her mother's gentle concern and her father's quiet disapproval filled the small living room. "Ashley, we're worried," her mother began softly, her eyes searching for answers. "Your neighbor called and said you're overly attached to your dog. Isn't it time you consider finding someone to share your life with?" Her father added in a low, disapproving tone, "It's not normal to have this much emotional dependence on an animal." Exasperated, Ashley responded, "Love isn't limited to romance or the approval of others. I chose Rex because he saved me from the emptiness that once consumed me. I'd rather have genuine companionship than fall into the same traps again." Though her words were firm, a part of her ached at the sting of their disappointment. In the midst of these turbulent days, fate decided to play another card. One crisp autumn afternoon, while walking Rex in a park painted with vibrant fall hues, Ashley encountered a scene that would alter her path forever. A ball of unruly black fur, bouncing with wild energy, raced past her bench, nearly toppling it over. Startled, she looked up just in time to see a tall, bearded man in a sweat-stained jacket struggling to regain his balance after chasing his excitable Labrador. Breathless and apologetic, he approached. "I'm so sorry about that. My dog can be a handful." Ashley crossed her arms, a wry smile tugging at her lips. "He certainly has an eye for mischief. I guess he knows a kindred spirit when he sees one," she teased, glancing down at Rex, who now wagged his tail enthusiastically. The man's eyes lit up with amusement. "I'm Daniel," he said, extending a hand. There was an unforced sincerity in his tone, and Ashley felt an unexpected warmth bloom within her. Over the ensuing weeks, Daniel and Ashley's paths continued to cross. Daniel, a veterinarian with a gentle soul and a past marked by his own losses, listened intently as Ashley recounted her struggles and the story of how Rex had come into her life. Their conversations flowed naturally, filled with quiet laughter, shared sorrows, and mutual understanding, a stark contrast to the hollow interactions of her past. Life began to shift in subtle, yet profound ways. The gossip from the neighbors gradually lost its sting, replaced by the comforting realization that genuine connection mattered far more than public opinion. Her family, once steeped in skepticism, started to see that Ashley's unconventional choices had given her a strength they hadn't witnessed before. Her home, though modest, blossomed into a sanctuary where the only expectations were those of sincerity and compassion. Yet, as it often does, fate brought another trial. One morning, after a routine visit to the veterinary clinic, Ashley received the heartbreaking news that Rex's heart was failing. The vet explained that an expensive surgery might be his only chance at survival. Faced with the possibility of losing the one creature who had taught her the true meaning of unconditional love, Ashley felt an avalanche of despair. Determined not to let go, she threw herself into Rex's care. Every spare moment was dedicated to nursing him back to health, measuring his medicine, preparing his meals, and spending hours by his side, whispering promises of better days. Miraculously, Rex began to recover. Against all odds, his condition stabilized and even improved, leaving the vet astounded. "I can't explain it," the vet admitted, "but his spirit and your care seemed to have given him a second chance." This unexpected turnaround fortified Ashley's resolve and deepened the bonds between her, Rex, and Daniel, who had stood by her side through the darkest moments. In the aftermath of Rex's recovery, the once haunting voices of judgment faded into a distant hum. Ashley learned that true happiness was not found in grand, fleeting moments, but in the quiet persistence of love and the strength to defy societal expectations. Daniel's patient support blossomed into a deep, abiding affection that did not demand conformity or rush the natural unfolding of their lives. One chilly evening, as the three of them sat in the warmth of her small kitchen, sipping tea and sharing gentle smiles, Daniel softly proposed, "What if we continue this journey together?" His words, delivered without fanfare, resonated deeply with Ashley. In that quiet moment, she realized that her life had transformed. The long years of solitude and bitter disappointment had given way to a mosaic of simple, beautiful moments, a life enriched by authenticity, resilience, and the unassuming love of those who truly cared. Rather than dreaming of extravagant weddings and societal approval, she embraced the idea of a humble union, a modest ceremony with close friends, a home filled with shared laughter, and the promise of walking through life side by side. Seasons changed, and the trio, Ashley, Daniel, and Rex, wove a tapestry of memories together. Their days were filled with long walks, shared meals, and deep conversations that nurtured their souls. The opinions of outsiders, once so loud and piercing, became nothing more than background noise. In this cocoon of genuine affection, Ashley finally discovered that real love is measured not by the gloss of perfection, but by the warmth of companionship. Inevitably, as time marched on, even the strongest bonds were tested by loss. Rex, the faithful friend who had sparked a transformation in Ashley's heart, grew old and eventually passed away. The day he left this world was bittersweet, a flood of tears mingled with profound gratitude for the lessons he had imparted. His absence left an echo, a reminder that even transient moments of unconditional love can forever alter the course of a life. In the quiet that followed, Ashley reflected on her journey, a journey marked by heartbreak, unexpected kindness, and the courage to redefine love on her own terms. She realized that happiness isn't a burst of fleeting passion or the grand spectacle of societal norms. It is the gentle, constant presence of someone who cares, who stands by you through every storm. And so, with memories of Rex etched in her heart and a newfound hope for the future, Ashley stepped forward into a life built on resilience, authenticity, and the unwavering promise that love, in all its varied forms, is worth every sacrifice.